One of the most powerful wizards to ever exist is undoubtedly Lord Voldemort. Besides being incredibly strong, he is one of the most terrifying characters in any story. His presence is so chilling that honestly, no one would want to encounter him in a dark place, just like what happened to Harry in a cemetery at night. I, for example, would stay far away. But setting aside this terrifying scenario in this text, I will focus solely on Voldemort himself and explore his entire story. I will recount his journey from the beginning, covering his origins, rise to power, and eventual downfall. After all, his life spanned 71 intense years. Yes, he was 71 years old when he died. Without further delay, let's begin. First, let's talk about Voldemort's origins. He was a descendant of the Gaunt family, the last living representatives of the bloodline of Salazar Slytherin, one of the founders of Hogwarts. Salazar was known for his unique and rare ability to speak with snakes, a gift that was passed down from generation to generation. The Gaunt family was obsessed with preserving their pure blood heritage, maintaining this tradition throughout their history, even when it led to dark consequences. Merope Gaunt, Voldemort's mother, lived a life marked by pain and suffering. From an early age, she was a victim of constant physical and psychological abuse by her father, Marvolo Gaunt, and her brother, Morfin Gaunt. Both saw Merope as a disappointment, believing she was a squib, someone incapable of using magic, since her abilities had not yet manifested. Although the Gaunt family was a direct descendant of Salazar Slytherin, they had lost their former fortune generations ago, living in miserable conditions. All that remained of their prestige were two invaluable heirlooms, Salazar Slytherin's locket and a family ring, which would later be revealed as the legendary Resurrection Stone, one of the Deathly Hallows. Despite the oppressive environment she lived in, Merope found a spark of hope in her love for Tom Riddle, a wealthy and handsome muggle who lived in a mansion near the Gaunts' deteriorating house. However, this love was one-sided and at first glance, unattainable. In a dramatic turn of events, while Merope secretly watched Tom from a distance, her brother Morfin cast a spell on the young man, violating strict laws that forbade the use of magic against muggles. This act caught the attention of the Ministry of Magic, which sent officials to investigate. The situation escalated into a confrontation between the authorities and the Gaunts, resulting in Morfin's imprisonment in Azkaban for 3 years and Marvolo's for 6 months. This turn of events, though tragic for the family, was a form of liberation for Merope, who finally found herself free from the tyranny of her father and brother. Free from oppression, Merope's magical abilities began to manifest fully. She abandoned her family home, taking only Slytherin's locket with her, and decided to take control of her own life. Determined to win Tom Riddle's love, Merope resorted to a love potion, forcing the young muggle to fall in love with her. They married, and Merope soon became pregnant with the child who would later be known as Lord Voldemort. However, this union was doomed to fail. In an act of hope, or perhaps desperation, Merope stopped using the love potion, believing that Tom might love her for real. But without the magical effect, Tom abandoned her, rejecting both Merope and the child she carried. This tragic origin profoundly shaped Voldemort. Having been conceived under the effects of a love potion, he was never capable of feeling or expressing love throughout his life, carrying an emotional void from birth that would lead him to become the most feared dark wizard of all time. Over time, Merope began to believe that Tom might truly love her, or at least stay by her side for the sake of their unborn child. That is why she made an important decision. She stopped giving him the love potion. She did not want to keep the man she loved trapped through magic. However, Merope was mistaken. Tom abandoned her, leaving her pregnant and completely alone. Amidst sadness and despair, she gave up using magic altogether. To survive, she ended up selling Slytherin's locket to Caractacus Burke of Borgin and Berks, a piece that would later play a significant role in history. Weakened and lost, Merope sought refuge in an orphanage. It was there that on December 31st, 1926, she gave birth to her son, Tom Marvolo Riddle. Before passing away an hour after childbirth, she made one final request, that the baby be named after his father, Tom, and his grandfather, Marvolo, and that he inherit the surname Riddle. From his earliest months, young Tom already displayed peculiar and unsettling behaviors. The orphanage's director noted that he almost never cried, an unusual trait for a baby. As he grew, it became evident that his appearance strongly resembled his father's, though he had no connection to the man. Without visits or family ties, Tom intimidated and frightened the other children at the orphanage. He was known for causing disturbing events, such as the case in which a child named Billy's rabbit was found hanging from the ceiling after a fight. Although no one could prove it, everyone knew that Tom was responsible. On a countryside outing, Tom took two children, Amy and Dennis, to a cave. Afterward, both returned deeply traumatized, unable to clearly describe what had happened, but they mentioned that he had taken them there. He, in turn, swore it was nothing more than innocent exploration. Even without knowing he was a wizard, Tom already displayed impressive magical abilities for his age. He used these powers to manipulate and intimidate others, as well as to get what he wanted. Another disturbing habit was his tendency to collect trophies, small objects stolen from the children he terrorized as a way of rewarding his own cruelty. When he turned 11, Tom received an unexpected and unique visit. Albus Dumbledore went to the orphanage. For Tom, it was the first time someone had come to see him. During their conversation, Dumbledore explained the magical world and the school of Hogwarts. Tom's reaction was immediate and intense. "Magic? So that's what I can do?" he questioned, full of curiosity and ambition. "I knew I was different. I knew I was special." These words from Tom Riddle perfectly capture his self-perception from an early age. During Dumbledore's visit to the orphanage, it became clear for the first time how Tom used charm to manipulate situations in his favor. At first, he demanded to know where he could get a wand like Dumbledore's, but he quickly changed his approach, adopting a gentler and more polite tone. With an apparently sincere expression, he said, "Sorry, sir, I meant, please, Professor, could you show me?" This scene also reveals crucial aspects of Tom, such as his ability to speak Parseltongue, the language of snakes, inherited from his maternal lineage. He commented, "I can talk to snakes too. They find me. They whisper to me. Is that normal for someone like me?" From a very young age, Tom demonstrated self-sufficiency and vanity, with no real bonds or friendships. He always preferred to act alone, traits that would profoundly shape his adult life. Additionally, Tom despised anything that made him ordinary or connected him to others. He wanted to be unique, different, and unforgettable. This even included his name, which deeply bothered him. "You don't like the name Tom? There are a lot of Toms out there." Later, he would completely reject that name, creating a new identity for himself. For Dumbledore, the first impressions of young Riddle were striking. His ability to talk to snakes didn't make me nearly as uncomfortable as his obvious instinct for cruelty, secrecy, and domination. Upon arriving at Hogwarts, Tom was sorted into Slytherin almost instantly by the sorting hat. At school, he maintained a cautious demeanor, showing his most charming side. He avoided displaying arrogance or aggression, quickly winning the favor of nearly all the professors. His attractive appearance, polite behavior, and thirst for knowledge made him an exemplary student in the eyes of many. When I met young Riddle, he seemed like a brilliant boy, determined to become a first-class wizard. The true monstrosity existed, but it was deeply. While cultivating his reputation as an exemplary student, Tom's darker side remained hidden, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Tom Riddle always stood out as one of the best students at Hogwarts, being named a prefect in his 4th year. During his time at the school, he became obsessed with discovering his true origins and began investigating the history of his father, believing he was a wizard. However, his search revealed nothing about this possibility. Tom then concluded that his father was a muggle, as his mother, according to him, had succumbed to the shameful weakness of death. This thought was one of the first signs of his deep disregard for death itself. When he finally accepted that his father was not a wizard, Tom abandoned the name Riddle and began calling himself Lord Voldemort. He explained his decision with disdain. "You thought I would keep my Muggle father's filthy name? I created a new name, a name that wizards everywhere will fear to say." The name Voldemort, which can be translated as flight from death, reflected not only his disdain for his father, but also his greatest fear. This name was a brilliant choice by J.K. Rowling, symbolizing Tom's obsession with immortality and his desire to free himself from human limitations. After discovering that his father was a Muggle, he began investigating his maternal lineage and found information about his grandfather, Marvolo Gaunt. At school, Tom began to form a circle of loyal followers who would later become the first generation of Death Eaters. Dumbledore stated that although Voldemort had loyal followers, he never had genuine friends and didn't seem to want any. These followers were rigidly manipulated by him, with their actions carefully controlled, although they were never caught committing crimes openly. Disturbing incidents marked Tom's years at Hogwarts. After his 5th year, Tom spent the summer holidays at the old Gaunt house where Marvolo had grown up. There he found his uncle Morfin, who wore the Gaunt family ring. Morfin attempted to attack him, believing that he was Tom Riddle, the man who had abandoned his pregnant sister. When Voldemort spoke in Parseltongue, Morfin realized it was not his father but his nephew. Voldemort then interrogated him and discovered that his father and paternal grandparents lived in a nearby mansion. With a cruel smile, Voldemort cast a spell on Morfin, stole his wand, and headed to the Riddle mansion. There he found his father and paternal grandparents dining peacefully. In a merciless attack, he killed them with Morfin's wand. After the murder, he returned to the Gaunt house, used extremely advanced magic to alter Morfin's memory, and made him believe that he had killed the Riddles. To complete the scene, he stole the Gaunt family ring, returned the wand to his uncle, removed the memory charm, and fled. When the Ministry of Magic arrived at the Gaunt house, Morfin boasted about the murder exactly as Voldemort had planned. Morfin's wand was identified as the one used in the Riddle family's murders, sealing his guilt. Thus, another part of Voldemort's plan was carried out, further deepening his journey of power and cruelty. This was exactly Lord Voldemort's plan, and the Ministry did not investigate further, considering the case closed once they discovered that Morfin's wand had been used to kill the Riddles. Morfin was imprisoned in Azkaban, where he spent the rest of his days. The only words he uttered until the end were, "He's going to kill me for losing the ring." In his 6th year at Hogwarts, Voldemort deepened his search for ways to achieve immortality and began investigating Horcruxes. He sought out his favorite professor, Horace Slughorn, to understand how the process worked. Slughorn explained that a Horcrux is an object in which a part of a person's soul is hidden, dividing it through an extreme evil act, such as murder. This process ensures that even if the wizard's body is destroyed, part of their soul will survive. However, Voldemort wanted more. He asked Slughorn if it would be possible to divide the soul into 7 parts, the most powerful magical number. During his 6th year, Voldemort, as the heir of Salazar Slytherin, opened the Chamber of Secrets, resulting in the death of a Muggle-born student, Moaning Myrtle. He used this death to create his first Horcrux, hiding a piece of his soul in Tom Riddle's diary. When he learned that the school might be closed because of this, Voldemort became alarmed and framed Hagrid, a half-giant, for the incident, receiving special praise for his services to the school in the following years. At Hogwarts, Voldemort used the death of his father, Tom Riddle Sr., to create his second Horcrux, using the Gaunt ring he had stolen from Morfin. He also charmed the Grey Lady, the ghost of Ravenclaw, and the daughter of Rowena Ravenclaw to discover the location of the lost diadem of its founder. She revealed that she had hidden the artifact in a forest in Albania. Voldemort finished his studies at Hogwarts with outstanding marks in all his exams and received several job offers, but rejected them all. He asked then headmaster Professor Dippet to stay as the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor, but was refused as he was considered too young. Instead, Voldemort accepted a job at Borgin and Burke's in Knockturn Alley, where he used his charm to convince people to sell their valuable items. During this time, he met Hepzibah Smith, who owned two precious relics, Helga Hufflepuff's cup and Salazar Slytherin's locket. Voldemort stole these relics, killed Hepzibah, and turned the cup into his third Horcrux. Once again, he manipulated the memory of a house elf to make it seem like Hepzibah's death was an accident, and the case was quickly closed. The Ministry didn't notice the disappearance of the artifacts until much later. Meanwhile, Voldemort abandoned his job and disappeared for 10 years. During this period, he continued his search for Horcruxes. He turned Salazar Slytherin's locket into a Horcrux after killing a Muggle beggar in an Albanian forest, found the lost diadem of Ravenclaw, and used the death of a peasant to create his fifth Horcrux. After that, he began hiding his artifacts. He gave Tom Riddle's diary to Lucius Malfoy with instructions for it to be sent to Hogwarts, where a part of his soul inside it would reopen the Chamber of Secrets. This was exactly Voldemort's strategy, to turn the diary into something less of a shield and more of a weapon. He hid the ring at the Gaunt house in the same place he had stolen it, protecting it with magical spells. Helga Hufflepuff's cup was given to Bellatrix Lestrange, his loyal follower, who kept it in her highly secure vault in Gringotts, guarded by a dragon. Salazar Slytherin's locket was hidden in the cave he had visited during his childhood at the orphanage, a place marked by his cruelty in traumatizing two children, Amy and Dennis. For the fifth Horcrux, the lost diadem of Rowena Ravenclaw, Voldemort left his hideout and used a visit to Hogwarts as an opportunity to meet with Dumbledore. He claimed that he was interested in the position of Defense Against the Dark Arts professor, the same position that Professor Dippet had mentioned years before. However, after 10 years of absence, his appearance had drastically changed. His skin was as pale as snow, his features distorted, and his eyes permanently marked with blood red. Dumbledore refused his request, and in retaliation, Voldemort cursed the position, ensuring that no professor could hold it for more than a year. Taking advantage of his trip to Hogwarts, Voldemort hid the diadem in the Room of Requirement, a magical place where students and staff had hidden objects for generations. He believed no one would ever find it there. After this act, Voldemort spent 15 years recruiting giants, dementors, and followers, the Death Eaters, establishing himself as the most feared magical tyrant of all time. He spread chaos and fear to the point that people even feared speaking his name. Despite his power, a prophecy brought a new challenge. Severus Snape, one of his followers, reported to Voldemort a prediction made by Sybil Trelawney. The one with the power to defeat the Dark Lord is approaching, born to parents who challenged him 3 times, while the 7th month dies, and the Dark Lord will mark him as his equal. But he will have a power the Dark Lord knows not, and one must die at the hand of the other, for neither can live while the other survives. Voldemort concluded that the baby mentioned in the prophecy was Harry Potter, born at the end of July, the son of parents who had resisted him. Determined to eliminate this threat, Voldemort attacked the Potter family. When he killed Lily Potter, Voldemort unknowingly cast a protection spell over Harry through the sacrifice of the mother. When he tried to kill the baby, the spell reflected, destroying his body, and only his soul survived, sustained by the Horcruxes he had already created. Additionally, a piece of his soul, lost, united with the nearest living being, Harry himself, accidentally turning him into a Horcrux. Now reduced to a fragment of soul, Voldemort fled to the forests of Albania, where he inhabited the bodies of animals, especially snakes, which quickly succumbed to possession. After a decade in this miserable condition, he found Professor Quirrell, who became his new host. Together, they planned to steal the Philosopher's Stone to restore Voldemort's body, but they were thwarted by Harry Potter once again. Lily's protection saved Harry, destroying Quirrell and forcing Voldemort to retreat. Shortly thereafter, the first Horcrux, Voldemort's diary, was Lucius Malfoy was placed in the possession of Ginny Weasley and sent to Hogwarts, allowing the soul within the diary to reopen the Chamber of Secrets, fulfilling Voldemort's original plan. Voldemort used Tom Riddle's diary to possess Ginny Weasley, persuading her when she was captured. He used her life force in an attempt to restore his physical body permanently. However, Harry Potter once again defeated him by destroying the diary with a basilisk fang, thereby eliminating the first Horcrux. A year later, Peter Pettigrew, known as Wormtail, located Voldemort in the Albanian forest with the help of rats, using spells and a potion that contained unicorn blood and Nagini's venom. Voldemort created a temporary body. Afterward, he captured Bertha Jorkins, a Ministry of Magic employee. After torturing her for valuable information, Voldemort killed her, using her death to turn Nagini into his final Horcrux. From that moment, his soul was split into 8 parts: himself, the diary, the ring, the cup, the locket, the diadem, Harry, whom he did not know yet, and Nagini. Bertha revealed crucial details about the Triwizard Tournament and about Barty Crouch Jr., a Death Eater pretending to be dead. Together, Voldemort and Crouch Jr. devised a plan to manipulate the tournament and ensure that Harry touched the Triwizard Cup, which had been turned into a portkey. In this way, Harry was transported to the Riddle Cemetery, where Voldemort performed a ritual with 3 ingredients: his father's bones, the flesh of a servant, Wormtail's hand, and the blood of an enemy, Harry's blood. The use of Harry's blood nullified the magical protection left by his mother, allowing Voldemort to touch him. Now, with a restored body, Voldemort was unrecognizable, his skin white like a skull, red eyes, and a flat nose with slits like a snake's. He tried to kill Harry but was stopped by the priori incantatem phenomenon, which caused the echoes of Voldemort's victims, including Harry's parents, to emerge from his wand. Harry managed to escape and warn the Ministry of Magic, but few believed his story. Taking advantage of the Ministry's disbelief, Voldemort rebuilt his army, recruiting giants, dementors, and freeing Death Eaters from Azkaban. A year later, he revealed his existence, starting the Second Wizarding War. During this period, Voldemort took control of the Ministry of Magic and Hogwarts, appointing Severus Snape as headmaster and the Carrow brothers in charge of oppressive discipline. Discovering that Harry's wand was the twin of his own, Voldemort set out in search of the Elder Wand, the most powerful wand in the world, buried with Albus Dumbledore. He retrieved it, believing it would make him invincible. At some point, Voldemort had a daughter with Bellatrix Lestrange, who was born before the Battle of Hogwarts. When Voldemort realized his hiding places had been compromised, he discovered that the Hufflepuff Cup, the locket, and the ring had been destroyed. He kept Nagini by his side as his last line of defense. During the Battle of Hogwarts, his allies destroyed the remaining Horcruxes, the cup, the diadem, and finally, Nagini. During the final confrontation, Voldemort killed Severus Snape, believing it would give him control over the Elder Wand. After Harry followed the orders and found Voldemort in the forest, he was seemingly killed by the Dark Lord, destroying the Horcrux that Voldemort had unknowingly created within Harry. However, by extraordinary means, Harry returned to life, something Voldemort was unaware of. When Voldemort presented Harry's dead body to his followers, Neville Longbottom stood out in the decisive moment. He took Godric Gryffindor's sword and destroyed Nagini, the last remaining Horcrux, making Voldemort mortal at last. The battle continued, and amidst the chaos, Harry stood up and confronted Voldemort for the final duel. With all the Horcruxes destroyed, Voldemort was defeated once and for all. Tom Riddle, the man who became Lord Voldemort, died on May 2nd, 1998, due to the irreparable damage he had caused to his soul by splitting it so many times. He could not move on, not even as a ghost. His soul was condemned to wander in limbo forever. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to follow on social media. The links are in the description. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel, like and share to help us grow. See you tomorrow.